Hi everybody and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to quickly show you how to make this fruit loaf. It is so yummy. If you like that toasted raisin bread in the mornings with a little bit of butter on it, this is the recipe for you. Or a lot of butter, it's the recipe for you. It just works every time. No mixer, just with a bowl and a wooden spoon, and once again some basic ingredients, and then you will get this beautiful bread. I will show it to you. Full, bready, beautiful. Toasted in the morning, it is amazing. Lunch, snack, whatever you like. Now I'm in the garden today, getting ready to give you guys a sneak peek. Spring is just popping in the garden, so there's a fair few things to show you. But I'll quickly show you how to make this, and then I'll be in and out while we make it, getting the garden ready for that garden tour I promised. So let's get started on this recipe. To start this recipe, we're going to add the first 3 ingredients together. Now, when I put my list of ingredients up there, I try and break it up with what you add together, whether it's your wet ingredients or your dry ingredients. So, first 3 ingredients together. So I've got my list here as well. So 300 grams of warm milk. Now, I've just put that in the microwave for 30 seconds. And then to that, we're just adding our sugar and our yeast. So it's 80 grams of sugar, 10 grams of yeast. So sugar goes in, and then in with our instant yeast. And then just give that a light whisk. And then we just set it aside. Set it aside to do its magic. And then the rest of the ingredients. Now we're only mixing this by hand. It's a really stiff mix, so get out a really good wooden spoon. You're gonna need it. So to your bowl, you're just adding 520 grams of bread flour. Now use a really good bread flour. It does make a difference with your bread, especially in a fruit loaf. So we've got our flour in. Now let's just add a pinch of salt. Now when I do a pinch of salt, you know it's a 3-finger pinch, right? Well, sometimes it's a 5, 4-finger and a thumb. So I do a very generous pinch of salt. So in with our salt, and then mixed spice. Now, I put 3 teaspoons of this, but I love mixed spice. If you don't like it, or you just want it really mild, it's not strong with 3 by any means. It's just perfect for me. So give it a go with 3, and if you think it's too much, just tone it back to 2, or start with 2 and then up it. Honestly, I could put 4. 3 isn't overdone at all. So I put 3 teaspoons, and then zest of a lemon. Oh, honestly, if you have a fresh lemon, like I do at the moment, it makes such a difference. You can just have that little zing. So if you don't have access to a fresh lemon, just don't add it. So now I'm just gonna mix those together. And that's it for our dry ingredients. Give them a good mix, just to really make sure your zest and your spices go through your flour. And then just pop that aside. Now, back to our yeast and milk. Now, I know I have good yeast, so I don't have to wait 10 minutes to see if it works. I know it's nice and fresh. So to that, I'm just gonna add an egg. Now, the reason that they tell you to get your eggs out of the fridge and let them come to room temperature is because we're trying to maintain this warmth in our milk. So if you put a cold egg in here, it disrupts the activity of your yeast. So put a room temperature yeast. And look, it's put a room temperature yeast. Put a room temperature egg. It's not the end of the world if it comes straight out of your fridge, but it's better if it's at room temperature. So give that a whisk, and then we're going to put in our oil, and that's it for our wet ingredients anyway. So that was 40 grams of oil. Now when you use your oil, I use olive oil. Now the reason I use olive oil is because I like the flavour. I did make a recipe the other day that called for oil, and it didn't say, so I experimented with avocado oil. You could taste it in the cakes and it was awful. Avocado oil is good for some things, but not baking, so don't use it. Well, don't use the one that I used anyway. Maybe yours tastes better than mine, but I could taste it in the muffins and it was awful. So now just pop our fruit in. Now when you mix your fruit, just break it up. If your fruit's got big clumps in it, just break it up a little bit. Now I just use the organic fruit mix from Honest to Goodness. I buy it in a big 5 kilo bag, would you believe it? Because I do love it. I love it with the granola, I love it in my cakes, I love it in my breads, I use it in the finger buns. We use it in everything. So I do go through it. So that's all nicely mixed. Now at this point, I just double check all my ingredients. Make sure I've put everything in because it's really easy to forget things. So everything's in. Let's add our liquid. And now you're just going to mix it together. And you have your batter, well, your dough, for your fruit loaf. Now this fruit loaf is beautiful. I slice it up, I put it in the freezer, I get it straight out of the freezer and put it in the toaster, and it's beautiful, but you do have to smother it in butter. Smother it in butter when you're gonna eat it, otherwise it's not the same. So give this a really good mix. Now this is a really, really stiff mix. It's a bread, remember, not a cake, it's a bread. So it's really stiff. So if you need someone to give you a hand, if you have anybody that can lend a hand to give this a bit of a mix for you, then get them to. Otherwise, persevere by yourself like I have to today. So as you can see, that is so stiff, and that's about as much energy as I have this morning. So that's all the stirring I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna get my dough scraper and scrape it all off here. And if I do see any flour, I'll just squash some wet dough onto it because I just don't have the energy to stir it today. Now I'm just gonna scrape down my bowl. I'm hurrying this morning because the sun's coming out and I'm hoping to do a garden tour for you guys. That's why you haven't seen me. I've been busy in the garden getting it ready. So anyway, back to the loaf. That's it. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna cover this up, put it in my oven. Now it's quite cold here today, so I just flicked my oven on, put some heat through it for only like a minute. I left it on, and now I've just put the oven light on, so it's nice and warm in there now. Not warm, but warmer than what my kitchen is. Your kitchen's probably warmer than mine. So that's it. We have our dough. Oh, it smells amazing. So just cover that up, put it in your oven. A rogue sultana. So I'm just gonna cover that over and I'm just gonna pop that in on my oven shelf with the light on. If you've got a nice warm space in your house, just go and sit it there, whether it's a nice cozy place in front of a window, but just as long as it's nice and warm. That will sit for an hour. So I'll set this for an hour and then I'm gonna pop back out in my garden and I'll see you when I come back. Okay, I've had to rush back. I was right up the backyard when my timer went off. So that's been sitting in my oven with the light on for an hour after we just stirred it up. And it's puffed up. So it's puffed up, probably not double, but close to it. So now I'm just gonna turn that out on the surface with a little bit of flour and then we're gonna put it in our pan. And that's all we're gonna do. I'm a little bit out of breath because I had to come running from up the backyard. Not only am I cleaning up, but I'm playing a bit of a prank on Steve. He's just popped out to get we'll order some plumbing supplies for the water issue that we have in our yard. Anyway, over winter, he's driven me nuts. We've moved into a smaller house and he hasn't had enough to do over the winter period. So if I'm in the kitchen, he's in the kitchen. If I'm in the lounge room, he's in the lounge room. If I want to watch something on TV, he wants to watch the same thing. He's driven me nuts and I can't get away from him. And he's got this huge shed up the back of the property that he has spent very little time in. So it's very neat. Steve's very neat in his shed. I'll see if I can get him to do a tour of it one day. But he likes his cars and his bikes and his tools all special and laid out, and he likes it all super neat. So I had my chicken coop delivered, and like I won't show you in there when we do the garden tour, I have a double garage here that's still full of stuff from when we moved because we have to sort it out and none of it is allowed to go up there in his shed. So the chicken coop, I've unpacked it. So this morning while he's been out, I've taken it all out of the cardboard boxes and I've laid it all out in the shed, and I'm going to do it in there. I've got a tarp and I'm going to put the tarp down and I'm going to paint it, and it is going to drive him nuts. So Payback is the best, and I'm going to love it, and I'm going to over exaggerate. I've already taken my speaker up there, so I've got my own music. What else can I think of? Whatever I can think of that's going to drive him nuts. I've already moved some tools around. I took the bung out of the back of his dirt bike, which I know will drive him nuts, and I put his boots in a different area. So that's the sort of thing I do to get back at him for annoying me. So let's have some fun with him today. But anyway, let's get back to the loaf. I'm just going to turn this out onto a little bit of flour, and then we're going to mould it and put it in our tin, and that's it. And then we're going to leave it for another hour. So I've got to hurry because I've got to get back up there and just pretend that, what? Am I annoying you? I love it. So a little bit of flour. I'm expecting him to come home any minute. I'll just get my bowl scraper. So if he's driven me nuts all winter, I figured he must love my company that much that I can go and hang out in his shed with him, right? It's a great space up there. I've been missing out, honestly. I feel like he looks at me when I go in there that I should take my shoes off or something. I go in there with my gum bits and he looks at me like, oh, I've got the wrong footwear on or something. Well, I'm just going to ignore that stuff and pretend that, play the dumb one, I say. So we've got our dough out. Now we're not going to do anything to this. We're not going to knead it. We're just going to mould it into the shape that we want. I've got a little bit too much flour there, so I don't want all of that, but I do want it to not stick on my bench like that. Now there's no need to knead it, but you'll find when you do this, you just can't help yourself. It's such a nice feeling in your hands, a good dough. Now, when I've done that, you can see there's a bit of a crack. It is important that you get it smooth before you put it in your tin. So if you have done that, just make sure it's not got any cracks on the top of it. And that's it. Pop it in your tin. Now, I've lightly greased this. Well, lightly. It's probably heavy greased for you guys, with butter, of course, always butter. Then pop that in your tin. Now I'll just quickly clean this up. Okay, so I've got it in my tin. I've just pushed it in there. Now I'm just going to flatten it down in there. I'm not fussing. I'm not worried too much about it. Just push it in. So that's all I'm doing. Now I'm just going to put the cloth back on it and pop it back in my oven, set my oven timer for another hour, and then we'll be back. And I'm going to rush up to the shed and see how much more mess I can make. But like I said, I'm not making an obvious mess. I'm just putting things where I know it will annoy him. So wish me luck. I'll let you know how I go. Now take your oven timer with you. It's magnetic, mine, so I can stick it on his shed at the door. So, all right, I'm off. My loaf's been in the oven for under an hour, so about 50 minutes. So it's risen up and it looks fantastic. So for the next 10 minutes, I'm just gonna pop my oven on. Now I'm putting that on fan forced oven 180. So if yours is non-fan, put it up a little bit higher, but my fan force 180. So I'm going to leave that sit for another 10 minutes just here on the counter until my oven heats up, and then we're going to cook it. So I'm going to cook this for about 45 minutes on 180. So I'll come back in 10 minutes and we'll have another look at it and we'll pop it in the oven. In the meantime, I'm ready for Steve. So I've spread my tarp out. I've got my chicken coop things all in his shed. I'm good to go. So today, if the sun stays out, we're going to do a garden tour. And when we get up to his shed, I'll mention the chicken coop and we'll go and have a look in his shed at what I've done and see what his reaction is. So if you want to see that, stay tuned for the garden tour. He's outside, so I have to be careful. But anyway, I'll be back in 10 minutes and we'll pop this in the oven. The oven's nice and hot. It's been preheating for about 10 minutes, and that's our loaf ready to go in. So I'm going to put this in once again, 180 for 45 minutes. Now, when it's had about 35 minutes, I'm going to have a look at it, or maybe 30 minutes, just to see how fast the top is browning. If it starts to brown a little bit too much, because I know I'm going to toast this, then I can put a little bit of foil over it. So I'm going to set my timer for 30 minutes and have a look at it. If it needs foil, I'll do that then. If not, I'll leave it for 45. So I'll see you in 30 minutes. The fruit loaf's been in the oven now for about 45 minutes. I checked it at 30. I know I said I'd come back and share it with you, but there wasn't a lot to look at. It just looked beautiful. I did put a little bit of foil on the top of it, but you can let it go that nice dark colour, or you can leave it to just be golden brown. Mine's going to be in between dark and golden brown. So let's have a look at it. I'm just going to bring it out. Now, normally when you make a fruit loaf, you would put a syrup, a sugary syrup on the top of it, and it gives it that sticky, glossy look. But I don't want to do that because I like to put mine in the freezer. And if I put it in the freezer with a sticky topping, then I get that sticky stuff on my hand every time I want to get a piece out of the bag. So I'm preempting that. I don't like it. It gets on the back of your hands when you put your hand in the bag. I'm sure you've all done it. So I'm putting butter on the top of mine because I still want it to have that nice look without the stickiness of the sugar. So I'm going to turn my oven off and I'm going to get this out and we can have a look at it. There it is. One beautiful fruit loaf. Now just give it a whack. Ouch, without burning your hand. Make sure it's nice and loose. And then I'm just going to paint the top with some butter. Like I said, you can put sugar syrup on yours, but I'm just putting butter. And then I'm just going to turn it out on this rack. We're not going to slice it up because we need our bread to sit. So I'm just going to turn it out. You can have a look at it. Get rid of that hot pan. And it is so hot. And there's our beautiful fruit loaf. And it is beautiful. Look at it. You saw how easy this loaf was. It was just a bowl with some basic ingredients, and look at the beautiful loaf that we have. I will cut this for you once it's cooled so that you can have a look inside, give it a go. And I forgot to tell you that this recipe is exactly the same as the hot cross buns. So if you made the hot cross buns, you can easily make this. And if you haven't made the hot cross buns, then turn this into buns. It's the same recipe. Maybe. I think I might have added a little bit more spice to the loaf. Double check on it whether it's 2 teaspoons or 3. Anyway, give it a go. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the garden tour and the chicken coop update. Take care.